scaling up from just thinking like AI is gonna replace me to I'm gonna use AI mindset is gonna be very beneficial here. The people who could use this will eventually get paid a lot.
Okay.
I try on daily basis to automate myself. I try to, for example, I converted one of my GPT wrapper app into another one. So like stop thinking like you are gonna be replaced and start thinking how can I use AI to replace myself. Okay, so
Hi Ayush, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
feeling great. Yeah,
Yeah, really looking forward to the conversation. Hope you have a good time.
I hope so too.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's begin. First of all, Ayush, introduce yourself. So what are you doing right now? And let's get a history of your background.
My name is Ayush Yadav. Currently, I'm doing my BTech final year in JEC Jabalpur. I'm doing my information technology degree. So I've been building things from like my school days only. I started with like this circuits art, and then eventually moved to programming, and then JE happened, so lost it all. And then continued doing that in my like starting from first year. Started with basic, DSA, C++, and then eventually moved to Android development, made a bunch of Android apps, did some freelance work, then did one internship too. Then after that, I got obsessed. Like after doing the internship, I thought of building more products. So I focused on creating BeFriend, a social media app for college students, and I built it for like 5 6 months on and off. Then after that, again I got another opportunity. I got interested in AI and got an opportunity to work at Dashtune. So I worked there for 3 months, built automation, web scraping, and different types of pipelines. And then after that, I've been just experimenting more with Gen AI, and currently I'm building Superhero AI right now and looking for full-time roles. That's what I've been doing.
Right. So you like had a background where you were interested in creating things from the beginning.
Yeah, like seventh class.
Right.
That
So
one.
you've been interested in producing products from the very beginning.
Yeah, it started with art, then like electrical soldering iron and all that. So
Right. So, what pivoted you to generative AI? Because you've done a
uh,
lot of DSA and all those mainstream work
I,
in the
I
beginning.
done fair stream of different tasks. Like yeah, I've also done video editing, graphic designing. So I was exploring things. I stayed with technology and development because you could measure it output. You can give it to people and get feedback. So I stayed with that. And at GenAI, basically, I was like part of the beta list for DALI 2 by OpenAI. So the first time I like text to image just blew my mind away
Right.
in back in I guess 2022. And after that I was like interested in that, was giving my exams and all, and then I came across stable diffusion. And stable diffusion was this open source model. Like DALI was like you have to get credits and you have to pay for it,
Mm-hmm.
but a
Yeah.
diffusion was like open source. Anyone could do anything with this. And I heard about this method called dream booth. So in dream booth, basically you can put your face in the AI character. You
Right.
can fine tune the model to have your face, and you can reproduce images like that. So I learned about that and got interested. I generated those images of myself, and like that was actually mind blowing for me. Like so much power. And as I was also developing my skills, and the technology kind of collapsed here, so I could actually start uh, building things from there. So that's how I got interested in it. And AI is like superpower given to us, developers. Like we can build amazing things and scale them. So that's what got me interested.
Right. And tell me more about superhero AI. So, what exactly is superhero AI?
Basically, Superhero AI is an app where you put your face, image of your face, and you generate a superhero image of yourself. It's just a fun project that I'm making right now. And the urge to make this started like I worked at Dashtune, and I got to work on different types of projects, but not much on the image generation side, which I actually wanted to work on. And because that pipeline was already built, so I couldn't contribute much to it. So on my personal level, I wanted to explore it. So instead of making something like useful utility one, I wanted to make something fun so people actually use it,
Right.
rather than just be like, yeah bro, we downloaded your app and now we are going to use it for 2 seconds so you feel good and then we are going to back off.
Yeah.
So that happened with befriend, so I didn't wanted that to be repeated again. So that's what I started making that. And that was the story of Superhero AI. Currently it's not finished because like hosting it cost me a lot, like $0.6 per hour. So I'm finding a way to serverlessly host it so I can keep it alive, and otherwise it will cost me like 35,000 rupees per month
Oh,
just running one instance of it. So that's why I'm working on that, like optimizing that.
yeah, I've used Superhero and the way it generates the image, fits your image in a superhero's picture is like it's pretty satisfying.
Yeah, so earlier what used to happen was like if you have to do something like this now, you have to get like 20 pictures from the user,
Yeah,
train
yeah.
you have a base model stable diffusion, fine tune it, so you have another model, and now you're doing inference on that. Now
Hmm.
problem with this is, for example, you had a 2 GB model. Now you get the images, you train it for 30 minutes. Now you have another 2 GB model. Now you're doing inference on that, and you have to do this for every user that comes. So if you're going to make an app on yourself, you're like, an initial cost is there of training this 30-minute thing compute. And then the user may just generate one image or 1,000 image, right? So what I solved with Superhero AI is basically, instead of training another model, I'm using a base model with some control nets.
Right.
So control nets allow you to control the output of stable diffusion. So
Okay.
I have instead of increase cost initially and then linear usage, now it's linear from the start. So you don't have to pay an upfront cost of compute.
Hmm.
So that's what like the technical standpoint of it is, which I can transfer to any other app. Like currently it's Superhero, I could make like traveling the world or anything like that could be possible with this.
Right. Yeah, got it. So, what's been your most challenging experience while creating a superhero AI? What do you feel is the
Uh,
biggest challenge while creating such products?
there's no roadmap, there's no path to getting it. It's like you explore, you, for example, you are on Twitter, you meet people, you talk to people, you learn some stuff, YouTube some stuff. And then majorly, if you think of any student right now, they would be watching tutorials on YouTube, so they'll be stable diffusion, there'll be like a Photoshop version type thing they will be watching, that one person did this on automatic 1111 and generated an image. So for people who don't know automatic 1111, it's like you have stable diffusion. Now you want a UI so people can use it.
Right.
So the automatic 1111 is the UI.
Okay.
So most tutorial on the internet are using automatic 1111 UI to generate the image, but people can't make apps with that. So that's a challenge in the starting. And for people who are trying to make it, you can just run the server and pass minus minus API to it, and now you have a fast API backend on which you can build your apps. So this was the insight, you can say, that I got, and I got this from Rickane from Twitter.
Right.
Now I don't use that for my Superhero AI, but that was the starting point to make it feel like I can do this.
Hmm.
So that was like challenging part, because it was just a thing that other people do, and then after that it became I can do it.
Right.
So, and there are various platforms like Hugging Face, you can try that, and eventually create your own diffusers pipeline, which I have created my own pipeline using diffusers Python library. So you can start from there, run the UI as an API backend, create your app, then move on.
Right. So you mentioned there's no a roadmap that is present for
Hmm.
creating products in AI space, like how in normal other spaces like web development, there's proper roadmaps built, but in generative
Yeah.
AI, there's no roadmap. So what advice would you give to someone who's beginning out in this? And I'll ask a follow-up
Uh,
question along with that as well.
Okay, so firstly, like learn basic software development. You should be able to build any app. Basic, like if I tell you to build a social media app, you should be able, like you are doing front end. So if I tell you to make a login sign up system and get information from user and call an API and get the output, so you should be there at the first before making any Gen AI app. After that, you can start with like OpenAI. So OpenAI provides this direct API, so you can start with text. There are majorly there are two things in Gen AI: generation of text, generation of images. So you can start with text because it easier. So you can just use OpenAI, and there's a startup program for OpenAI which you can get like $2,500 for free. So you can
Right.
start with OpenAI, create something like an essay generator with it.
Which
Then
generator?
essay generator, let's say
Okay, essay
you
generator.
you
Right.
create a front end, get a topic name, you pass it to the API, get an essay generated, show it in the user front end.
Okay.
Start with that,
Right.
simple as that. And then you can move on to frameworks like Python, like LangChain is a framework for Python and JavaScript, which is used to make this LLM based apps. So people in the industry are using that.
Right.
So you can, I got to learn this because I'm like in contact with people. So and now YouTube is also catching up, so you can find all the things on YouTube too. So and be updated on Twitter, you know, everything that happens first comes to Twitter.
Right.
So currently, like there's a technique called LCM LoRa, through which you can like stable diffusion takes time, right? You know, on my laptop I tried running it initially. It used to take 3 minutes to generate a 512 by 512 image. I'm talking about last year,
Right.
2022 November. So and now LCM LoRa is like real time generation. So anyone who is on Twitter should get to learn these things. So you can start with that. Being on Twitter, staying active, trying to contact people who are actually making products so you can get tips from them, and
Right.
having a big starting with APIs, like start with the OpenAI, then move to let's say Hugging Face API endpoints. Replicate also has APIs, and after that try to create your own backend. Now that you are familiar with using someone else's API, you should be able to create your own backend in Python or let's say Node.js.
Right. What are some of the groundbreaking ideas that you've come across in the generative AI space?
Groundbreaking ideas, like if we
So,
come from starting like having after DALI and all that, the ChatGPT app was groundbreaking on next level, that everyone got to know about Gen AI.
yeah.
And then we if we move along with that, like there's been like LCM LoRa that is recently came out, right? So it's gonna change everything here because it's real time now.
Right.
So you people can paint roughly like blue color here and type it's a sword, then on right side you are gonna get it, and it's like real time painting. So empowering every user to create it, to become an artist here. So that's very groundbreaking on because it's reducing the cost a lot because your inference is very fast.
Right.
So that's amazing. And if you are talking about the like LLM based apps, like LangChain is also like groundbreaking because it allows people to like just use a framework to create apps faster. So on such levels, and if you are talking about animation, like Corridor Crew made a video about we made an anime. So we know,
AVTV?
right? AVTV made it later, obviously.
Oh,
If
okay.
it's just copying the things other do and telling it to people.
Right.
Yeah. If you wanna stay ahead of Varun Maya, you should be on Twitter.
Right.
Yeah, Varun Maya is just gonna iterate the same thing to you
Okay.
eventually, so you can get it firsthand from the people who are actually in the industry.
Right. Like in the influencer space, I think Varun, like in the Indian at least, Indian influencer space, Varun is the most active among the AI space, in the
Yeah,
AI
yeah,
space.
yeah. So, but I used to watch his videos. Like he's like 3 weeks behind.
Okay, I see. So, whom all should we follow to keep up to stay updated in the AI space?
Yeah, yeah, you should, like for example, like there are people in Bangalore AI community. You can like follow Nirant K. He's there, and like try to follow the founders of people who are building AI apps, right? So there's like someone is making Ding board. It's gonna on X, right? Building in public. So there's a
Right,
Ding board. Now it's an NN account, so I don't know the who the real person behind it is. But what happens is they are gonna build in public and they're going to show you the steps. I also try to do that, like I'm doing this, building this, so you learn from that insights. And
right,
automatically what's going to happen is X going to recommend you more of such people, and you
right,
try to follow them based on the content they post. So eventually you'll have a feed full of people, smartest people on the internet. Like you can obviously follow people like Peter Levels, who are building in public, you know, indie makers who make AI apps
mm-hmm.
is the like best thing you can follow because they're gonna tell you their secrets also. Like
Right.
Peter levels is like currently exploring with stable video. It's like
Okay. What is
ge-
PETA exactly?
huh?
PETA. You mentioned PETA.
I'm talking about Peter Levels. It's a person's name. Levels
Okay.
IO.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
like he's a indie maker. He makes this product. So last year he made AI Avatar. So and he made like $1 million in a month something.
Oh.
And then Lensa copied it. So Danny Postma and Peter Levels were like pioneering this product space, generate your
Right.
avatars for a particular amount of money.
Right.
So
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot
following,
of products right now who have become on that, who are built on that model. Pay this much money, buy credits, and then use the app.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you have to be following the best to get the knowledge fastest.
Right. Basically, Twitter is the space where anyone who's interested in AI should be there.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. How do you think AI, which is now able to automate tasks and optimize process, is going to impact people's productivity, like in corporate life and in normal daily productive life as well?
Mm, so for like development at Dashtun, I deployed a Slack bot which was using GPT-4. So
Slackbot.
yeah, Slack is the communication
Yeah.
platform you use,
Hmm.
right? So so at my organization at Dashtun, I deployed a Slack bot so everyone can use GPT-4. So
Oh.
it's like that impactful that I was assigned this task, so everyone is empowered with GPT-4. Like for example, like developers, we know, right? We are doing development, we are gonna use it. It's gonna and we I try on daily basis to automate myself. Like everything I do, I try to make AI do it. Like I try to, for example, I converted one of my GPT wrapper app into another one. So one was like normal cold email writer, and what I wanted was the exam GPT, so generate exam notes. So on a fundamental, I pasted all the code of it and said, in 5 lines I described this needs to be changed with this needs to be changed with this, and then gave it to GPT-4, and it gave a code that's working because it knew the pattern. So it's like
Right.
now you can iterate products very faster. As a developer, you have this. As an artist, you have this mid journey and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Now people think it's gonna like replace you, but you should try to replace yourself here, because for example, a normal artist, you are gonna be paid very less right now because people can just use an AI generator. But if you
Right.
level up from just an artist who was doing the labor to the one who has the vision and use AI to get the work done, then you can level up. For example, I told you about the stable diffusion automatic 1111. There's
Hmm.
also Comfy UI. So
Right.
the top artists are using it, the Comfy UI and automatic 1111, to create workflows. So initially we
What is
started
Comfy
with
UI?
Comfy UI is just another UI for stable
Okay,
diffusion.
just like
So
the 1111, automatic 1111.
yeah, for using the base model without you coding. So you use a UI other than that. So
Right.
what used to happen earlier was you have this model and you just pass a text and get an image. People used to think this is going to replace the artist, right? But this is
Right.
just a fundamental part here. Huh? So what happens is there are multiple tools. I told you about ControlNet, right? To control the output of the image.
What is ControlNet as well? Can you deep down on that as well?
Okay, so you have this stable diffusion. It's a latent diffusion model, right? So the output is not as a predictable. If I tell a Superman, right? Generate image of a Superman. So Superman, you can have 10 different poses of Superman that are generated.
Yeah.
But if you want a specific pose, you can be like a pose control net. A pose control net. You can just pass the image of the particular pose you want, and the output would be like that. So you just control the diffusion model output
Okay. And
with
how
that.
exactly does this control work? So you write a pose.
You ControlNet are made by people who are basically smarter than us. So they train these models on something, and then you just pass an input and get the output. It's just like that. So
Right.
this UI that I'm talking about, right? So people used to do text to image. Now they have 110,000 options to what to do. Now an artist who knew how to make great art can make a great person who are AI artist who can use this control list to get the desired output. Like if I give you comfy UI right now versus a person who is great into art, the output of both of you would be very different.
Right.
So at Dashno also we had AI artists. The people who could use this will eventually get paid a lot.
Okay.
So leveling up from just thinking like AI is gonna replace me to I'm gonna use AI mindset is gonna be very beneficial here.
Right. Yeah, I was going to ask this question of about like AI generated art is now pretty indistinguishable from human created art.
Yeah,
So, what challenges the traditional artists are going to face?
I actually covered it in the same question.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
exactly.
it's like that also. Like stop thinking like you are gonna be replaced and start thinking how can I use AI to replace myself.
Right.
So there's a hierarchy in the companies, right? So if you are on the bottom of the chain, you are the person making the AI art, basically art, and then you have some head who's gonna tell you that make this or make this changes. So now you have leveled up one version. Like
Right.
you can ask for AI to generate the base versions, and then based on make the changes. So
Okay.
it's like increasing your productivity here.
Right. So, you're making AI do the menial tasks that are
Menial tasks and
right.
get the high decision, high amount task done by yourself.
Right. What do you see evolving in the generative AI space in the next like 1 or 2 years?
Uh, AI agents are gonna become a reality
What
more
are
than
AI
we have
agents?
today. So, uh, 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 if you're gonna look up the architecture, it may be complicated. So I'm just gonna simplify it. It's
Yeah.
basically you have for loops, right? You have loops doing the same thing again and again. Just put an LLM, large language model, into it. So an LLM does like is like the mind behind ChatGPT. So you pass a text, ask it to do something, and you get the output, right? So it's like a brain.
Right.
So you put it in a loops like, okay, you ask it to go and scrap Mintra, let's say. You have an AI agent that's going to scrap Mintra. So firstly, it's going to think, what does scrapping mean? Okay, understand
Exactly.
it. Now it's going to think, to scrap Mintra, I need to get the URL of Mintra. So it's going to do a Google search, get the Mintra.com URL. Now it's gonna say, to scrap data, I need to use some libraries, let's say Python library. So it's gonna figure that out. Like I can use BS4, I can use Selenium. Then take a decision on that. Now here I'm saying, right, it's a loop. You do something, you get the output back. You take a decision, you take a decision until the goal is achieved. So that's an AI agent. uh, which So what I'm saying is like, you will have your browser, and right side you will have a bar, and you just type the thing you want to done, like fill this Excel sheet with this data, scrap data if needed. So it's
Right.
gonna do all that. So that type of stuff will become normal, right? I want to write the script, scrap the internet for the latest news, like, write top 10 headlines for today. So scrap the internet for what's popular today. Get the, like, for example, this podcast you can write like, how is the AI gonna change the field in the next 2 years, and you can get the latest news scrapped and make sense of it.
Right. From
You
like
can
multiple articles that are published online, you can read, go through, and then curate ideas from them.
We are giving judgment to basically AI, that AI is gonna judge them and get us the work done. And I think a good AI agent would have human in the loop. So
Right.
it would do the task and ask me for the judgment, like is it correct or not, and
Right.
based on that it will improve over time. So a good agent would be like that.
Right. What is your view on the GPT 3.5? So normally when you use GPT 3.5, it is vulnerable to too many incorrect answers.
Hmm.
From what I have experienced, GPT 3.5 gives a lot of three incorrect answers. I haven't tried GPT 4, so I can't comment much on that. But the reviews that I've heard about GPT 4, they are pretty awesome. It does not give that many incorrect answers.
So GPT 3.5 suffers with hallucinations more than GPT 4 does. And I'll give you a simple example. I was building this React app, and I don't know React, obviously. So I'm not much of a front end guy. So I used to do it on GPT 4, and my friend used to use the GPT 3.5, right?
Right,
So he pasted the error in GPT 3.5. It told like 10 things to do to figure out what's wrong, not actually doing it, right? While we give it to the GPT-4, and it says that on this line, in this particular keyword, you have made this mistake,
right,
and actually worked.
right.
So the quality of output is very different here, and the hallucination, it's like you, if you are making your own apps, you can use there are different libraries, people are building solutions around it, like guardrails. I think there's a female founder who's building this. And
What does guardrails do?
guardrails is basically this, like around this outputs only, right? What type of output you want. You don't want the LLM to hallucinate.
Right.
So there's a technique called RAG, retrieval augmented generation. So for example, you may have seen talk to PDF type things on internet,
Yeah.
like you can upload a PDF and talk to it using. So
Mm.
it works on that. So
Okay.
when we are saying reduce the hallucination, what we are wanting is, if there's something mentioned in the PDF, for example, and uh, like human have 3 legs, let's say, but the model knows that human have 2 legs. So we want the model basically output to be 3 legs because the PDF says so.
Okay. So it should believe
So
the PDF rather than its own
yeah,
knowledge.
so here what I'm trying to give an example is, basically, if you want to get the exact information from there, so
Right.
you don't want it to hallucinate with information that
It
it already
already
has.
knows. Right.
Yeah, like this is an absurd example, but because it's absurd, it makes sense easily.
Yeah,
Like
it fits
you want
in
it to believe
well over
triggered
here.
with Felix. Yeah.
Yeah.
So these types of things you control with hallucination. You can do so if you are building your own apps, but
Right.
rather upgrade to GPT-4. I'll say it's
Right.
much better. If you are a developer, it's like very innovative too.
Right. What has your experience been with GPT-4? How has it helped you create
Uh,
products?
I've done a lot of things with GPT-4, like during my 3 month internship, I used GPT-4. Like once I made the bot, before making the bot, I was using GPT 3.5. Once I deployed the Slack bot that I made, I was using my own app every day, 24/7, like,
You were using
at home
Slackbot
also.
every day.
Yeah,
Okay.
Slackbot, which was using GPT-4, and I added web scraping to it also. So you could just, for example, Unreal Engine has a bad documentation.
Okay.
So I was working on Unreal Engine code, and if you ask GPT-4, generally, ChatGPT, it won't give you the
The
good answers.
3.5 version.
No, any GPT, because it
Okay.
doesn't have that context.
Okay.
I told you about, right, the PDF
Right.
example. You need to give the context. So I added web scrapper to it. So what happens was, I was pasting the documentation code. Like, this is the website for the documentation. Kind of go read it and tell me how to code it.
Right.
So that type of things were really, like, I couldn't have done it without it, because it had like hundreds of functions, and it was able to identify the correct ones to use.
Right. Okay. Um, what else? What about the this one, copyright infringement and those rights? When we talk about the AI art,
Hmm.
how are those things going to be controlled?
So, like, stable diffusion was trained on Lion 5-bit dataset, I guess, right? So earlier there was no laws for it. So, but right now this copyright has becoming a thing. So, for example, OpenAI says that if you are under any copyright infringement, like, so they'll pay for it, basically.
Okay.
So if you use their product and you get copyright on you, then they'll handle it. While, for example, Adobe Firefly was trained on basically, Adobe Firefly got the rights first, and then they trained the model. So uh, any company who's building a startup could, for example, use Adobe Firefly, because they told that we have taken care of the copyright issue, right? So
Right.
copyright is very it's on the it's blurry side. You don't know if it's gonna be bad for you or not. For example, I'm generating superhero images, and the train data is on Marvel or DC. So I could get a copyright here also. For open source model, it's on you. If companies want to sue you, then I don't know how you're gonna defend it. It's AI is gonna be blurry line for a long time right now.
Okay. Open source,
uh,
as you mean like the
Stable diffusion is like open source, or
okay.
you, for example, instead of using GPT, you use Llama. Let's say Llama is open source model released by Facebook, Meta.
Okay.
So if you're using that, then it's up to you to handle the copyrights then.
Right. So is the work of these big companies who launch their products, who launch their models, they have to take care and think about the corporate issues that might be there.
Yeah, so it's like generally in laws what works is whoever pays the big amount uh, gets to win. If you can get 10 lawyers to fight for you, you can probably find a way. But for example, like OpenAI has given assurance that if you use make products with our app, our APIs, then we'll take care of the infringement copyrights.
Right.
And similarly, Adobe Firefly avoided the issue altogether by training on non-copyright image. They got the rights basically first. So
Okay.
if any image is generated to that, they have the rights.
Okay. Right. And what is your? Did you follow the OpenAI scene that happened currently?
Yeah,
Sam
yeah,
Altman
I
being
did.
fired and then reinstated as the CEO.
Yeah, I was on Twitter. Like it was, it just goes to show how fragile these organizations are. You know,
Yeah.
like we are like OpenAI is gonna build AGI and it's gonna be safe AGI, and they're like accelerationist and then altruism. So there are two types. One, they think that AI should be regulated. One,
Right.
those
Right.
things that AI should be accelerated. So I don't think so. Controlling AI is gonna be easy because you can't even control the actions of humans on there. So that it shows the fragility of that. That
Right.
I think more people should have this access. More and more, there should be more open source models, and
Right.
if everyone has the access to it, then regulations shouldn't be like okay, OpenAI is gonna control how the output is gonna be. For example, X is launched its own LLM, Grok.
Right.
Yeah, so Elon bashes OpenAI every day right now
Yeah.
for them being too woke, for saying.
Yeah. Grok
So
is the more funnier version of AI,
it's
right?
basically unrestricted.
Oh, okay.
Here, when you say OpenAI is basically we are restricting this. We are restricting what you can make for your safety. So they are taking decision what's safe for us.
Right.
While Grok is like you take the decision yourself. It's unhinged.
Right. But Grok
And
isn't released yet, right? It's
yeah, it's in beta access right now,
right.
but that's the goal. He's also adding it to Twitter, so in every post you will be able to like get the what Grok thinks about this post type thing. Yeah, that's gonna
Right.
be fun.
Yeah, that seems interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's deep dive on the this one, the ChatGPT, the OpenAI drama that happened. Can you tell what happened to the viewers?
uh, Basically Sam Altman was fired from the board because and the reason given was basically that basically he was not aligning with the goal of OpenAI, and along with that, like he was hiding some information. So some people were like predicting like it's gonna be GPT-5 or maybe they have achieved AGI internally, and turns out they didn't reveal much information. Then there was like Mira got assigned as interim CEO,
Internships,
then
yeah.
then another one, that Twitch guy got, got the role, and all the mess was happening, and the whole open AI stuff was like we are leaving with Sam, and to control this havoc, Satya did the smartest thing possible, like join us. So he basically controlled the talent from moving out of his bubble,
Yeah,
basically
yeah.
Microsoft OpenAI bubble. He controlled that, and eventually now Sam is back, and probably they're gonna get the things done. And Sam fired the board, I guess.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly. Almost all of the members, only one was left. Only one of the
yeah,
board
so
member was not fired.
I don't think so it was GPT-5 or that type stuff, but there's been news about that they might have mastered Q star learning, and it
What
may
is
be
that?
integrated. uh, uh, I'm not master of that Q star, but it's
In
basically
simple
type of,
languages to a layman, how would you explain it?
it's like reinforcement learning. For example, you may have learned about Dijkstra's algorithm, right?
Yeah,
Get
yeah.
from point A to point B. This is algorithm to get the part done. Then there's another one called A star, which you also get from point A to point B. Q star is basically getting the goal done. For example, you are traveling from your home to office, let's say PG to office, and you are thinking it's gonna get done in 20 minutes. now there's another traffic light, another one. So you have some insights of your own. Like for example, if I take that route, maybe I'm gonna get at 20 minutes, or maybe I can take another decision, be like, okay, there's a traffic light, I can wait. So this is like optimization of the path to get to the goal. So this is kind of basic of Q star, but I'm not an expert in this, so better read up. I will also read up on this.
Right.
So
So
that's
what are
the thing that's happening.
hmm,
Yeah.
what are your couple of goals for the next 1 2 years? What is your aim in your life? You're in your final year, so there must be something about placement. What are your
Uh,
plans next?
I have one offer right now. Like it's not rolled out yet, but I'm in talks with one company. So probably that's gonna convert, and I'm gonna start soon.
Right.
So that's my goal. And right now, my 10-year goal is basically building products, just building a lot of products, and probably replace myself in a way. For example, I want an experiment. I could just pass a YouTube video or tweet article to it. Sorry, tweet a thread to it, and it should be able to make the app for me.
Yeah.
So like that should be the goal eventually. There are some projects that I want to work on. For example, cold email writer one. So the idea with that is it's gonna scrap the companies from the internet automatically, have your resume already in it, based on your resume and company information, create emails, send those hundreds of emails to your draft. Every morning you wake up, you're like, okay, there's an email. You just confirm that what it has written is correct or not, because it's AI, and you send. Because people find it hard to get placement. If you
Right.
have every day you are sending like 10 emails to different companies, I think you have increasing the probability there.
Yeah.
So that's a project that I want to work on,
Right.
and just be in Gen AI space basically, learn more about it.
Right.
That's the goal.
Yeah, this was a pretty interesting project that you discussed about.
Yeah, because I wasn't getting placement, so I was like, I'll build it on my own. I'll get the placement. Either I'll get the placement, or I'll make a product that's gonna make me money.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, cool. Right. Okay, that
Yeah.
brings us to the conclusion of the podcast. Thank you so much, Ayush.
Uh, thanks, thanks, Arjun.